Welcome back to Strategic Gaming. My name, as always, is Mac Taylor. Sarge is basically the leader of LePevy, while Scout's kind of the leader of Yes Sir, kind of the oldest people being put on the pedestal for the men and the women. And they're going to be the captains of their tribes. And they basically are going to, have a tribe swap. And so the tribes get swapped, and basically Sarge and Scout get to pick which tribe they want. Sarge ends up with Chris, Chad, John K., Twyla, and Julie. Scout ends up with Eliza, Rory, Bubba, Amy, and Leanne. And Lisa, who's not, ended up on a tribe, she gets to choose. She chooses to go to Yes Sir with more women. Because, that makes a lot of sense. Like, you don't want to end up on the bottom of the men's numbers. And they play a reward challenge for Pringles and beer. It's a swimming challenge. LePevy wins reward here. Amy doesn't want to, the knowledge that they learned from, the natives about, cutting the coconuts in half and things like that. Leanne immediately was like, "Oh, let's go ahead and show them." And she's like, "No, that's our knowledge that we gained. They're the enemy. We do not give the enemy cool things." So this is the first side of Amy. Like I think Amy is a great Survivor player, but I think she is a raging bitch. And this is definitely one of those moments. Like, you're the Yes Sir tribe now. You're not going to, hide every time you cut a coconut in half. Calm down. It's not going to help them in the game. There's going to be a challenge where you have to cut coconuts in half. And if there is, they're on the same tribe. So just chill, Amy. It's ridiculous. And it's exactly what Leanne says, too. And Eliza, she's like, well, do we really want to vote out the guys? That we could need them in challenges. And they go to the immunity challenge, and this is a huge, huge blunder. Bubba tries to tell Chris, hey, throw the challenge because you guys have more men, so you can vote out the two girls. Whereas me and Rory are really on the bottom here, and we're probably going to get voted out. So, you guys losing is good. We need to go into the merge with as many men as possible. But that is a great idea. That probably should have been discussed earlier, because when you're saying it to Chris now, and then Amy and all of them hear you say that, you are now on, your head is going to get cut off. Whereas maybe they probably would have voted out Rory before you. So Bubba really put his foot in his mouth. Because really he should have done a Boston Rob and told this to Chris as they were leaving. For the future, hey, think about this. If we lose, hey, I'll try to get Rory out, but then remember, lose. But he doesn't do that. He says it in front of everybody. And again, puts a huge, huge target on his back. Very unnecessary. So we get to untie a bunch of knots and rope and everything. And then LePevy wins immunity. So Chris didn't understand what Bubba was saying. And Amy's like, well, you heard Bubba. He's trying to work with the guys. Got to get him out. And I really do think that is a good idea. I don't blame the girls for sticking together when there are two guys. It just makes sense. Just like in the other tribe, the guys should stick together, take out the girls for the numbers in the merge. I understand what they're doing. And at tribal council, Bubba admits what he was doing. It's like, Bubba, lie. Tell them something. Why are you digging your grave further? So by a vote of 6-1, Bubba gets voted out. And Bubba and Rory, they really didn't want to lose each other. They were hugging each other and having a prayer together. They're close. Bubba and Rory. But, Rory had to vote with the girls to try to get a little bit of a saving grace. And Bubba understands. No hard feelings. I go my own way. So Bubba's out and his Bob Barker t-shirt. He was a trip, man. He was a character. And I think he played a good game up until this blunder of shouting out his plans in front of the women. Like, when he was on the guys' tribe and he had the alliance with, the men, he was doing well. It's just, and if they would have gone to the end, he would have probably got a lot farther than some of the other ones. But again, he put his foot in his mouth, and because he lost, it's his own fault here. So Rory, he feels on the outs moving forward. And he's like, you know what? If I don't have a chance, if I'm next, I'm not going to do work for you guys. I'm not going to feed you guys, and then you boot me. Which, ballsy maneuver, but, I understand when I guess it's you. Twyla and Julie, however, they're talking strategy. They're talking, maybe Rory. Twyla and Julie are talking strategy. Maybe, try to get in with the guys and maybe talk about voting someone else out. Like they're really trying to figure out how they can find a way in. And Rory tells the girls, hey, sorry for the terrible things I said in my mind about you guys. Why would you tell someone that? If it's in your mind, they don't know you thought it. So why tell them that you thought terrible things about them? Just keep it to yourself. Rory does some things that just don't make any sense to me. And they get a reward. They have to catch pigs. And Eliza turns out to be very, very bad at catching pigs, while Chris is very, very good catching pig. And it's for steak and eggs. LaPevy wins. Rory, he's like, hey, Eliza was shitty in that challenge. Let's get Eliza out. I can catch a pig. She can't catch a pig. And Eliza was already annoying the girls anyway. So she is definitely the correct person to try to pin votes on. While on the flip, Eliza wants Scout out because in the challenges, Scout either sits out of them or tries to stay out of the way so that anyone else can win it. Scout is very, very bad at challenges. Maybe the worst we've ever seen up to date in Survivor. I think Scout from seasons 1 through 9 is the worst challenge person because she just cannot do it. But you do want to take really weak people into the merge so you'll have a much easier time in these competitions. But in the tribe portion, yeah, I'm surprised she's made it this far. Only being like kind of like the matriarch of the women's tribe. Has she been able to make it thus far? Because she is very weak. Lisa, she's calling out. Well, I'm going to cut that. I don't even know what I wrote there. We get this scene where Julie's bathing naked. And, all the guys are like, hey. And Sarge and Julie are like kind of flirting with each other, but Sarge is married, and Chris is like, Sarge, what are you doing? Because Chris is engaged, and he, is not looking at Julie. He's not fooled by the temptations. Twyla and Sarge, they are bonding because they're both kind of the older workhorses. And they're kind of close. Just like Twyla and Chris, they're both construction people. So, they bond over that. Twyla does find herself on the side where the guys do like her a lot, which is very good for her. And Sarge even says, I want to bring you into the 4. We're not really working with John K. We do want to work with you. And she's like, I believe you. And we get a water obstacle course immunity. And LePevy wins because Leanne basically just straight up gives up. And she feels bad, that she gave up. And Lisa and Amy had this huge argument about, what to do with the vote. And Scout wants Eliza out. Scout's like, Scout hates Eliza. Amy's like, no, I want Lisa out. And so Amy goes up to Lisa and's like, hey, I'm voting you out. And again, it's when Lex told people he was voting them out, he was like, hey, sorry, man. I got to do what I got to do. I got to vote you out. Amy's like, I'm voting you out and I don't like you. Which, again, a little bitchy. Like, again, she's got good strategy. But that's just really petty and a little disrespectful and wasn't pleasant to watch. But, Amy is painting herself as a villain here. And the vote does come out 4-2. So Lisa does go. Amy gets her way. And, Amy can be this over-the-top kind of really villainous woman, but they're following her. People will do what she says, and that's scary when someone can call the shots and then have people do it for her. And be so vocal. So Lisa's gone. Meanwhile, Chris is really annoyed at John K. Really doesn't even feel like John K should be here right now. And Rory, he's thankful that the girls did not vote him out. Like, oh man, I survived. I shouldn't have survived that, but I did. And he's talking to Leanne and Amy about, like, oh, thank you. And Amy's like, oh, you're next. Like, oh yeah, that was a fluke thing that happened last night. You're still next. Roy's like, oh, gee, thanks. And again, Amy, stop telling people, any Survivor player, stop telling people they're next or they're going home. That gives them time to scramble. Stop doing that. Stop it. It's not good. It's frustrating. No one wants to know. They say they want to know, they don't want to know. So we get a reward challenge for coffee. Yasser wins. Julie basically kind of playing Twyla. Because Twyla says, the boys offered me a spot in the Final Four. And Julie's like, well, they also offered me a spot in the Final Four. And Twyla's like, oh, I can't believe they did that. And she's lying out of her ass because, they never said that to her. Sarge only said that to Twyla. And Julie just plans on running back to Amy and them when they get to the merge. Twyla's not someone she wants to work with, but she does want to stay around in the game. And Rory, he's refocusing. He's like, I was a little mad about being told I was next, but now I got to figure out how to not be next. And so they're going into the slingshot immunity. Sarge is like, I got this. I know how to use slingshot. Well, it turns out Rory is a badass with a slingshot. So Rory and Yasser win immunity. And Rory and Amy are both kind of targeting each other. Rory's like, Amy's the biggest threat, which she is. And Amy is targeting Rory because Rory has a penis. And Amy is very anti-man this season. Very just all women to the end. Which, the setup of the season does kind of invoke that kind of thought processing. But in the Amazon, it really wasn't that much of a thing. It just became who was better for people's games. But that was mostly due to people like Dina and Rob Sesternino kind of being able to make it about strategy and not about gender. Whereas here it's very much about gender. And Chris and Chad, they talk about, let's take out Julie. And Chris is like, no, I want to take out John Kay. And John Kay then tells Chris, I want to target Chad. And it's like, whoa, because, Chad, he doesn't have a leg, and that's going to come up later. Everyone is thinking, like, the end. And you need to be thinking right fucking now. Because Chris taking out John Kay here is a bad idea. Because then the women are going to have a lot of numbers heading into the merge. It's going to be 6-4. If you take Julie out here, it's going to be 5-5. And you have a chance to figure something out. But Chris does have like a soft spot for Julie, and they're not going to take out Twyla. But I think this is a huge mistake because, and John Kay shouldn't be talking about Chad, he should be talking about Julie. So by 5-1, John Kay can be the last pre-juror. Take two. John Kay going to be the last person booted for the merge. And again, it's very upsetting because this is such a bad move. So Julie, she's really flirting with Sarge, really trying to get Sarge to just, like, Sarge even, like, bathes nude and stuff, like, really just getting a little risque with Julie. And Rory, he hates his tribe. He's like, I can't wait to get back with the guys because these girls are pissing me off. And we get this bucket train, like, you have to throw buckets of water back and forth without spilling it to fill up a large bucket. It's for cake and milk. LePevy wins the reward. And Scout just talks about how close she is with Twyla. And that's bad because, again, that puts a huge target on Twyla's back. Never talk about people you're super close with that aren't even on your tribe right now. It's not great. And Chris, at this point, has made a final two with Chad, Sarge, and Julie. So Chris has put himself in a really good position. And it's merge time now. Everybody's together. And, talking about the future. And we get a flag retrieval immunity. And Sarge ends up winning immunity here. And they get their feast. And Rory's telling the guys, Ami is the biggest threat in this game. And he is absolutely 100% correct. Ami is a huge strategic and physical threat. And she should not be taken lightly. He is absolutely correct in that statement. And he doesn't even just tell Sarge. He tells all the guys, careful. Amy's a threat. And they come up with the name Alinta, which means people of the fire, which is very fitting for this volcanic island season of Vanuatu. Island of Fire, as it's called. And Julie immediately, she goes right to Ami. And she's like, this is what I know. This is what all the alliances were. This is all this stuff. Did I do a good job, Ami? And Amy's like, yes, you did. You did a very good job. Thank you so much for the thing there. For the information there. And Rory is the girl's target because Rory has been good at challenges and he's a good talker. Twyla, the guys are like, Twyla, please vote with us. And Twyla's like, no, Julie told me that you had a Final Four with her too. And you were playing me and I'm not going to be played, Sarge. How dare you lie to me? And Sarge is like, I didn't lie to you. Chris, he's frustrated with Twyla. He's like, I don't know what the fuck happened. I don't know why she's flipping on us right now. We didn't do anything to her. Because he has no idea about the Julie betrayal. And Ami really is the queen of the women. Ami is the head of the snake that the guys are having to fight right now. And the vote comes out 6-4, the women together against the men. Rory voted out, the last non-juror. Rory played a better game than I thought. At the start, he was playing super shitty. He was really bad at social skills, and even he did do some things in this game that made no sense and confused me. But he was better at challenges than I expected him to be, and he ended up fighting a lot longer than I thought he was going to in this game. And it's interesting that he never plays again, because I think Rory was an interesting figure in this season. And I really do think he played to the best of his abilities. Like I said, it wasn't a perfect game. It wasn't one I understood most of the time, but it worked. And I thought this guy was going to be out like second or third, and he made it all the way to the merge. So, big shocker. And at this point, the men are realizing, oh shit, like we are screwed. There's 3 of us. There are 6 of them. This is not good at all. And Sarge is pissed, mostly at Twyla. Like, she flipped on them. How dare she? So we get the cut down, the people's, the famous Marcasian Rotu 4 crushing challenge for a flight to a volcano trip. And the elimination order is Sarge, Chris, and Chad, which they knew and they're laughing about. Like, oh yeah, it's got to be the guys. And then Eliza gets out, and then she's upset. Like, why was I the first girl? Does that mean I'm going to be the first girl picked off? And then it's Julie, Scout, and Amy. Comes down to Twyla and Leanne. Leanne wins reward and takes Julie because they're buddies. And they are just loving. Leanne and Julie are laughing and just having a good old time. And Eliza's pissed. Like, why was I the first girl out? Scout's like, would you get over yourself, Eliza? You're such a spoiled brat. And Eliza's like, look, I don't know why I had to be the first one. And it's, the women are starting to splinter. This isn't a tight niche group. And Chris, he's like, hey, this is my opening. This fight here, this is the way I can have in. And really, he's thinking about targeting Eliza, and I think Eliza, you would want to pull her in, not try to take her out, because then you still have a solid group of women against you and the guys. And the girls, Julie and Leanne, bring back wings. And they tell all the girls, hey, come over here and eat these wings. And then we'll tell the guys, hey, we brought back the bones with a little bit of meat on them. You can have those. And so the girls are quickly eating all their wings up. And then the guys get back and they're like, here's a little bit of meat. And the guy's like, oh, thank you so much. Not knowing that the girls just mowed down on wings because they didn't want to share with the guys. And this pissed me off. This pissed me off bad. Like, if I was on this season and that happened to me and I went and watched it, I'd be like, don't ever talk to me again. Like, that was so petty. And it really would have been enraging for me. Knowing I'm starving on an island and you're going to, A, eat wings without me and then taunt me with a little bit of table scraps. Like, I'm below you. I eat after you. How dare you? So I was very enraged with this moment. And the guys are at the very much underdogs at this point. And at this point, it makes them even more underdogs. I hated Amy and Leanne and Julie at this point. Because they're so cocky and so arrogant. And Eliza gets a pet pig. Because they had to take care of this pig. And Eliza is just dragging it around. And I don't know who names it. I think Sarge does. But they call the Women's Alliance Estrogen City. And we get a puzzle memory immunity. Amy can end up winning immunity, kind of solidifying herself as a big threat in this game. And Amy wants to target Sarge because Sarge is strong. And Scout, she's talking to the boys. And Eliza goes up to Amy like, hey, do you think Scout's talking about voting me out? And Amy's like, those boys are done. No one's ever going to flip on us. We've won the game already. It's the girls. The girls are going to turn on each other. She's going to eat those words at some point. So Scout's really worried. about Julie and Leanne being so tight and that she would be at the bottom. And then at this point, Twyla and Sarge have a conversation. And Twyla says, hey, I just got mad that you didn't, you offered the 4 to Julie too. He's like, I never offered the 4 to Julie. She's like, but Julie said, he's like, she lied to you. He's like, Twyla, I would never lie to you. You know that. Like, I'm a drill sergeant. I don't exactly lie. And she's like, oh my God, I got played. Oh, I can't believe I let them do that to me. And Sarge is like, I'm very upset that you didn't talk to me about this first and you just went and stabbed me in the back. And Twyla's like, oh my God, I stabbed you in the back, Sarge. Oh, I'm so sorry. Like, Twyla is crushed by the fact that Julie did outplay her. And she wants to flip, but they don't have the numbers. And by a vote of 7 to 1 to 1, Chris flipping with the girls because he had to, Sarge, the first juror, voted out of the game. And it's so sad because I liked Sarge a lot. I think he was a good, loyal, kind of older Colby Donaldson kind of figure. And, he got, it was on the losing end of this guys versus girls thing. And, that was the end of his game. I thought had the guys 5 alliance from the beginning went to the end, I think Sarge goes to the final 2. Probably with Chris. Like, I think that's who Chris ends up taking. So, I really think he does have longevity in the game most times because he is strong and a natural leader. So, I really do think he got a raw end of the deal. And again, another person, like, more so than I think anybody this season, on the guys' side, I'm surprised that Sarge never was brought back because he was definitely a figure. And with that, that ends Phase 2 of Survivor Vanuatu. Stay tuned for next time as we go from 8 to the final 4. And will the guys pull this out, or will they be completely destroyed by a strong female alliance? Again, I'm Mac Taylor. Stay nerdy.